All right, everybody. Welcome to B.O. Boys for Tuesday, May 28th. Fuck it. It's a raw feed. We're doing it live. I'm Clayton. I mean, I'm Pat.
And I'm Clayton's better replacement still, Chris. We are entering a new era of the BO Boys.
Yeah. So, what I did there was to give people that for the last time. For the
Mm-hmm.
last time in the history of this show, you will hear someone start off by saying that famous intro and then saying, "Hi, I'm Clayton." Because Christopher, as you said, uh, that era of the show is officially over now because Clayton he's missing. We've
Mm-hmm.
stopped searching. We had the search parties out there for a good week, and it's time to stop. Taking that taxpayer dollar
Mm-hmm.
and volunteers. People should volunteer for other things. Go volunteer at a hedge fund or something like that. Stop
Mm-hmm.
volunteering to
Yeah.
search for Clayton. But thank you. We'll work on your new title now that you're a co-host. But thank you,
Mm-hmm.
former senior wannabe intern Christopher, and now co-host. How does it feel to officially be sitting in that co-host chair?
I mean, I've been working for this promotion. You guys have been telling me about it for a few weeks now.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad to finally be here, and there's no better way to be here other than Clayton Coase is missing. Like honestly, that's the perfect
Yep.
segue for me to be back here. And honestly, I hope no one finds him at this point. Like
Yes.
I like the promotion,
Yep.
and I like to keep it that way. So I hope Clayton goes missing like for eternity, basically.
Yeah. I mean, it's the cleanest way because
Yeah.
obviously there was this scenario, which was also very likely, where you schemed and you outworked him and you out hustled him, and the people clamored for it. Like that was gonna happen, but that's so much
Hmm.
messier because in
Yeah.
that scenario, I've got to break it to Clayton that Christopher is better and more liked, and there's more dollar signs on Christopher than there are on you, and me and him have to have that conversation. The fact that Clayton instead has gone missing, and all
Hmm.
we needed to do was just tell the search party to go home and the volunteers to go home. This is much easier for both of us.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And honestly, like I hope we find like an article of clothing down the line just for like, as I said, no press is bad press. But
Right.
I also really like this co-host chair. So like if we do find a head down the road,
Mm-hmm.
that's almost like the perfect scenario for me. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying?
Yes. Because the head gets us a lot of publicity.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
coming
And
up on this.
it secures me with like the co-host spot. So it's like a
Yes.
win-win almost.
Yes. I mean, listen, I'm great at this, obviously,
Hmm.
but even I would have a hard time long term. I could do
Yeah.
it for a couple of months, but long term hosting the show with just a severed head of Clayton, even
Yeah.
I would not be able to, I think, maintain and grow the audience with that as my co host.
Hmm.
So, a severed head, you've got to be the co host. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
Of course.
no, yeah, I would say we find an article of clothing. That would be nice. That's a nice publicity hit heading into the live tour this fall. And then the severed head, I think that's what gets us on the chat shows.
Yeah,
Graham
that's just
Norton
the
has us on.
cherry on top. Cherry on
Yes,
top. That's
yes,
what gets us on like the late night shows
yes,
for us. Yeah.
yes. And then Seth Meyers has us on, and we all juggle the head. We're
Hmm.
passing the head back and
Exactly. Yeah.
forth, and
Yeah.
does he drop the head? One of his writers comes on as a character, wacky, PA who accidentally steps on Clayton's head, and we let them do it because what do we care?
So basically, it sounds like we got to find Clayton's head out there somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would say ideally that happens in like late August, right before we go on tour.
That. Yeah.
So
Exactly. No press is bad press.
yeah,
So the
yeah,
like, we're like hashtag search for Clayton's head.
yes.
That's what we have to go out there with right now.
Well, I mean, hashtag search for Clayton's head. I hope that takes off a lot more than hashtag Gentle Mondays did for the
Well,
Garfield movie.
clearly, one of the two has to.
Yep.
Something has to hit. So I'd rather it be Clayton's head than Gentle Mondays because that's clearly not. That's not what's happening at the BO right now.
It is not. I mean, we talked about hashtag Gentle Mondays a few weeks ago in the lead up to Garfield. Would the TikTok teens make Monday a big day for Garfield the way they made, because Garfield famously hates Mondays. Would this be a great
Mhm.
Monday for him? It was not. It was not a great weekend for Garfield with the Garfield movie. It was not a great weekend for Furiosa. And I think it's time we get into it because obviously the BO Boys is a podcast about movie box office,
Yeah.
clearly. And I think it's time for me to mow right now, to give one of
Yeah,
my famous
I say you
mowings.
go for I mean, Clayton's
Yeah.
head isn't here. Someone has to do it.
Someone's got to mow. So here we go
Yeah.
with a box office mow for the weekend of Friday, May, what was this? May
25th, right?
25th,
Yeah.
24th, Friday,
20
May
24th.
24th. So in first place, if you could call it that, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, opened up at number 1 with 26.3 in the
Uh-huh.
3-day weekend. We'll go over that one. Of course,
Yeah.
number 2, The Fat Cat, the Garfield movie from Sony Pictures, came in at number 2 with $24 million in
Oh.
its 3-day weekend, its debut. Number 3, I mean, we'll talk about this. The second weekend of If from Paramount, that made $16.1 million, only a 52% drop in its second weekend. It's now up to $58.6 million domestic total. Number 4, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, made $13.4 million in its third weekend. It's now at $122.8 million domestically. And number 5 was Universal's The Fall Guy, made $5.9 million, down only 28%. Lost 890 theaters, so this is more and more becoming a TV play for the Fall Guy. It's now up to $72.2 million. Anything else worth going over here? Sight, of course, was the newbie uh, from Angel Studios, and it didn't do as bad as it seemed like it could have done. It opened up number 7 with $2.7 million. That's its first weekend. And I'll jump down to number 10, going wide-ish from Neon, was Alana Glazer's Babes. In its second
Mhm.
weekend, it made $1 million. It increased 578 theaters. It's now up to $1.28 million. So
I was
there
also
is
gonna say The Strangers did held, like, relatively well. I know it wasn't in the top 5, but didn't it only drop, like, 50-ish% to get to, like, I think it was, like, around 8 million?
it's
I
so
might
it
be
came
wrong.
in The Strangers Chapter 1. And remember, Christopher, now that you're a co-host of the BO Boys, you're never wrong. You are only
Okay.
right in a different
Alright.
way.
Sounds good.
Um, so The Strangers Chapter 1 came in number 6, and that did make
6.
5.5 million, down 53% in its second
50
weekend.
okay.
$21 million total right now. I mean, that's a
I mean,
movie
that's
that,
just like another for
yeah.
me personally, that's just like another like everyone shits on horror just because we haven't had a Megan level horror,
Mm-hmm.
but like
Yep.
cheap horror like still wins. Like clearly, like I know like the first Omen relative to its budget was
Mm-hmm.
a disappointment, but like overall, if the first Omen was made for like $10 million, that still would have been a win. So like as long as
Yes.
you keep horror under like $15 million, I would say, like you will make your money back no
Yes.
matter what it is. Like you don't need the IP. People just need horror. Like
Yes.
I don't know what the equivalent is to like rats need their cheese, but like do people need their blood and guts? Like is that what you guys would call it?
I mean,
Like I feel like we need a new saying here.
The gore hounds need Clayton's head,
The
basically.
gorehounds need Clayton's head. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we need now.
Yeah. And something like The Strangers Chapter 1, it isn't premium Clayton's head. It's not
Hmm.
Clayton's head, say, in his early 20s when he had beautiful bouffant, long flowing hair.
Yeah,
This is
this
more
isn't
like
Clayton
Clayton's
like
head
right
found.
after he did like right after he was an extra on The Walking Dead or something. This is like
Right. This
this is
is,
Clayton after he was like banned from like SAG-AFTRA and he's in bad
yes.
standing. Clayton.
Yeah. This is, The Strangers Chapter 1 for the Gorehounds is finding Clayton's head in 30 years.
Yeah, yeah.
If it,
It's Clayton after he made a few dumb decisions in a horror movie and kind of like deserved to die and get his head
yeah.
chopped off.
Yes, yes. So this is not premium Clayton's Head. We'll see if maybe M. Night Shyamalan's Trap later this
Hmm.
summer, maybe that'll be premium's Clayton's Head for the Gorehounds and do really well at the box office. But again, even low grade Clayton's Head is still something that's going to make you money if you keep it cheap enough at the box office.
Yeah, and
Like you said,
I would like to say you told me last episode we had an email
mhm.
said it was like kind of a 6 out of 10. I watched the film myself, and I kind of agree. It's not a great horror movie, but like you almost kind of come and you paid what you saw,
Yes,
basically. Like nothing special, but like it's not terrible. Like the Gorehounds will appreciate what they see, and I'm hoping that stays with them for the next. Because I mean, there's two more of these films supposedly,
right.
so I'm hoping there's enough Gorehounds that will go see the next two films.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're both made or at least
Yeah, no,
almost done.
they all film. I think they filmed all three of these films at the same time,
Wow. So
and
they just
and
had a
it
good
does
deal
kind
on
of
an
end on a
Airbnb.
cliffhanger. So like there is the
Mhm.
incentive to like go back,
Yeah, yeah. And they'll go back. I mean, I think there might be some drop off between these movies where
but
if
they're
this
so
one wasn't
cheap.
that they're so
Yeah, they're
cheap.
so cheap. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean like
Eh,
$8 million. All they need is like 16 to like even break even domestically. That's
yeah.
not even counting worldwide.
Yeah. So something like The Strangers is going to be profitable. Everyone's going to
Hmm.
come out whole. Everyone's going to come out fat and happy. But the number one movie at the box office this
That's what
weekend,
we gotta talk about.
Furiosa, a
Hmm.
Mad Max saga from Warner Brothers.
Can you make
Uh,
crow? Is that allowed right now? Because I feel like I personally did call it, and you were kind of wrong. Not
I
to.
no, not listen. Hey, what I love here is you're always going further. You're always looking. Now you're in the number two spot, and now you're thinking, how do I get to number one? And I love that. And I'm always going to
It's a
be
new era. It's a new
it.
era.
It's a new era, and I'm always going to have my radar up. So I'm going to be watching out for you. Obviously,
Hmm.
never turn my back to Christopher. That I know, but I'm glad you're going there because I did think that this movie would do at or close to what Fury Road did.
Hmm.
When that one came out in what was that 2015.
20, yeah, summer 2015.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
basically the same time. It was May. I
Hmm.
thought that enough people saw it then and liked it, and the Oscar nominations and all that kind of stuff had just made people be aware of this at a level where it was never going to break out. This was not a replacement for
Yeah.
superhero movies or Jurassic Park or anything. But I just assumed that the awareness was there that people would go see this big action movie with some kind of brand name ish value. And that did not happen. I mean, this thing tanked. It
Yeah.
completely tanked. And you
I
called
have
it.
a
You
question for
called it.
you.
Yeah.
How many more wrong predictions do you have to have before we bring out the shot collar? Because I mean we've had Civil War,
Yeah.
we had not another church movie, and
Hmm.
now we have Furiosa. Like how many more until we bring out the shot collar?
I mean, we have to procure the shock collar first.
Okay,
So,
okay.
so I mean, I'm putting it out there. Obviously, the shock collar was something that the great podcast Jesus Kirk Minahan used on one of his prospective producers before he hired them. Later, fired him, but he did
Hmm.
shock this man on a live pay-per-view in which that man was hired for a job,
Yeah.
and one of the best uses of a shock collar I've ever seen. Definitely the
Hmm.
best use of a shock collar in radio, I would say. And so I put that out there to the Stoolies, to the Minifans who listen to this show, who've become wannabe oh boys. Let us know where to get a shock collar.
Yeah.
I mean, is this something that maybe it's just at a Lowe's or a Best Buy? I don't know. Or do I have to go down to Silk Road to get these shock collars? But
I'll look into that like
okay.
before I get the official promotion.
Right.
That'll be my last duty. And then if I don't get the promotion, we'll make Clayton do it.
Yes.
Basically,
Well,
I
if
think.
his head ever, because I do think a severed head could do your old job. I
Yeah,
think if Clayton's severed
definitely,
head,
definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
if Clayton turned up as just a severed head, he could be the one who keeps Jack away from us and
Mm-hmm.
who, handles the social media. So I think if
Yeah.
Clayton turns up as a severed head, he could have your old job back for
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yeah.
So this movie bombed.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things where in retrospect, it seems inevitable. And because, the man who should never have to wear a shock collar, the man who should do the shocking is, of course, our tribal chief, the box office
Yeah.
legend, Scott Mendelson, because he was sounding this alarm. You found an article where he
Yeah.
sounded this alarm when Furiosa was announced as a movie a couple of years ago. He said this
Well,
would be solo. This was a prequel to a movie of a character, and there was a prequel being played by an actor who wasn't the famous actor, and he knew this was trouble. And so Scott Mendelson, he nailed this years ago.
well, I have a question for other than Young Sheldon, obviously.
Mhm.
Can you name another successful prequel other than Phantom Menace 2? But other than that, that has like a Star Wars level fan base. Can you name another successful prequel at the box office?
There's definitely examples. There's something like, and this was before your time,
Mm-hmm.
because you're not Gen X like I am, and now there's no one to ever
Of
dispute
course,
that, of
yeah.
course. We all
Mm-hmm.
agree. Everyone who works on the show now agrees. I, of course, have Gen X.
You're
Um,
100% like all you have to
um,
do is show the birth certificate at this point, and everyone will
yes.
believe you.
Yeah, long form. It'll be shown someday. We'll air
So
that.
someday down the when we write our book,
Yes,
then you'll put it in there. Like it'll be an official document. That's all
yes,
everyone has to know.
exactly. And that'll be in the book. That's going to be such a big reason to buy that book when it comes out. But
Just to
uh,
see your and Clayton's like birth certificates, just so everyone
yes,
knows what generation both of you are in. And that's if
right.
Clayton's still alive. He might be dead at that point. Who knows?
Well, it's either birth certificate or death certificate.
Definitely, yeah. Either
Either
way,
way, that
it
kills a
shows what's up.
page.
Yeah.
Yep. So, The Godfather Part 2 is a movie that uses prequel elements. Robert De
hmm
Niro plays Michael Corleone, or plays I'm sorry, of course, plays Vito Corleone
Yeah.
in prequel scenes, but that movie also just has sequel scenes too.
Yeah. Well,
It's a
I was gonna say
sequel with
that it's
prequel
giving like
flashbacks. Yeah.
I know Heat 2 hasn't come out, but it gives like the Heat 2 kind of vibe where it's like a prequel but a sequel at the same time. And
I
I
I
know they're
mean,
talking yeah.
that is such a great movie to bring up because Furiosa, it just ate dirt at the box office. It is a prequel with someone younger and less famous playing the part of a character. And Heat 2 would also, I guess, be Warner Brothers. And
Yeah, and I mean,
right now,
have you seen Furiosa?
I have not seen Furiosa, and
So actually
honestly, I may not
Furiosa
after this.
has that element where it literally like the last few scenes of Furiosa directly lead into the sequel. So it almost is like it's a prequel, but it
Right.
also has sequel elements just like Heat 2. So it's like kind of like
Uh-huh.
it's like 95% a prequel and like 5% like not a sequel, but like almost the movie you
Okay.
wanted to see, which is
It
kind of
is,
weird.
not to spoiler. Well, let's just say because no one is going to see this movie at
Well,
this
clear,
point.
yeah, clear. Well, that's why I said I didn't think I had to have a spoiler, but I guess spoiler alert. But I
Are
thought
there
based
are
off in the box office, like no spoiler alert.
and I guess cover your ears like a child with watching
hmm
a movie with your parents. Um, Cover your ears if you want to hear the answer to this. But is Charlize Theron has she filmed new scenes that appear in Furiosa, or are
So
these
what
just
I heard based off of interviews is the scenes of There's like one or two scenes of Charlize Theron
yeah,
or Theron, however you say her last name.
right?
They are scenes they filmed for Mad Max Fury Road that didn't make the
Got it.
theatrical cut that they put in
Got
to
it. Got it.
Furiosa. So it's like
Got it.
deleted scenes that were filmed back in like 2014, 2015 that they just placed into this film to
Got it.
connect it to Fury Road.
Got
That's
it.
what I heard.
So Furiosa is partially a prequel and partially a DVD extras
Yes. Yeah.
featurette.
Honestly, yeah.
Got it.
That's the best way I would say it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this movie, I mean, this is the nightmare scenario where this movie did 26.3 in the 3-day. Remember, Fury Road made 45 million in its 3-day.
I mean,
That
I know we're not
when that
talking
opened.
like, I know we're not talking overall for the entire like Memorial Day right now, but I've seen this is the lowest Memorial Day opening weekend for all films combined in the past like
Mhm.
30 years. And
Right.
Garfield and Furiosa didn't make more combined than The Little Mermaid did in its 3-day last year, which is I know there's
It's
like other
sickening.
movies
It's
coming
sickening.
out and stuff, like the box office will rebound, but that is just kind of a grim statistic for everyone out there.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you're, it's easy for us to say don't panic. And
Yeah.
of course, we have to say don't panic because, we don't want riots in the streets and
Mm-mm.
that would be such a pain in the
Well,
neck to
honestly,
deal
like
with.
I would almost prefer riots in the streets right now. Like riot for the box office. Like everyone
Wow.
get out your pitchforks, get out your torches. Everyone go to your local movie theater and just riot. Like we need more passionate rioters to go to the movie theaters right now, if anything.
Okay. So you're because the end result you want is to save movie theaters. So you're calling for positive riots at the theaters, but
At
in
the
the end you want the rioters to buy tickets. Like they
Yeah,
could
no,
go as
I want them to
rioters.
break into like the initial movie theater, but
Okay.
then like buy tickets and snacks and
Okay.
like get satisfied before they situate in the movies. But riot
Okay.
outside in the parking lot is kind of what I'm
Got it.
saying.
Got it. Right in the parking lot,
Yeah.
break things maybe that don't are not owned by the movie theater
Yeah,
owners
break someone
and then
else's car, yeah, like
right.
break all the cars, break some windshields.
Right.
Be like, what are you doing? Like if they're at a strip mall, be like, why aren't you at the movie theaters right now?
Yes.
If they're
Yes.
at like a Taco Bell, be like, go to the movie theaters, break
Yes.
those windshields. But like everyone in like the AMC parking lot, they
Right.
should come together and just riot into the movie theaters and get some like snacks and tickets and
Yeah.
just buy movie ticket. Exactly.
It it's I mean when you look at the results for this Memorial Day weekend, that is the point we're at where we
Mhm.
need riots might be the only thing that saves the theatrical box office right
Yeah.
now because the movies are not doing it.
Yeah.
This
I mean, clearly, some of that has to change.
yeah. Yeah. And I don't the thing is rioting is not a long-term strategy. So
Hmm.
that might help next weekend. And God, next weekend's going to need something because there's no big theatrical releases coming out. So, like a
Hmm.
weekend of pro theatrical rioting that
Hmm.
results in ticket buys, like that could help you for one weekend, but it's
Yeah,
not a
just
long-term
intermediate.
solution.
Yeah, intermediate rioting, I support,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, no, it's definitely not long term.
Yeah. Yeah. Because then, listen, that's how you get the world depicted in these Mad Max movies is through
Exactly. Yeah, no,
riots that
we don't want
happen
Mad
weekend
Max
after
because
weekend.
like, yeah, what kind of like theatrical business is going on in the world of Mad Max?
Right.
We
Right.
needed a healthy balance.
Yeah. Well, you look at Furiosa bombing, and it's pretty clear that Mad Max as an IP is just something that is incredibly niche. Because when you look at the original three movies, the Mel Gibson trilogy,
I mean, weren't those
they were not
almost?
huge hits. They were
I was gonna
not.
say, weren't they? I personally, I've only seen Fury Road. Weren't those originally? I mean, I think it's your time. I mean, you're Gen X. I think Gen X was the
Obviously, Gen
80s.
X.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep. We
Weren't
were the 80s.
those almost, I mean, weren't those back in the day almost indie hits? They weren't really like box office hits.
Yeah, they were they
Or
were
am I
indie hits.
mistaken?
No, they were indie hits. They were low
They
budget movies. The first one's
they put
incredibly
like
low budget.
I think the thing they're most famous for is like putting Mel Gibson on the map over
Right.
anything rather than being like a massive hit.
Right. I mean though the Mad Max Mel Gibson trilogy were Mel Gibson movies before he was really Mel Gibson.
Yeah, no,
You
like
know,
it was
like
before
I'm looking
Braveheart,
at the
before like all that, right? Like this was
yeah,
like eight, I think it was like 78 to maybe like 82 or 83 is what that originally trilogy is. And like that was before he like really blew up. Like I thought this was, yeah, I thought it
so
was Mel Gibson before he was Mel Gibson.
so the first Mad Max movie opened in 1980. this, and I think figures on movies this far back are not 100% sure, especially a movie
no,
that
it's
opened in
definitely a little,
Australia.
yeah,
But
especially the Australian stuff.
Mad Max came out in 1980. Worldwide looks like it had a $99 million take, so that's huge. The 1982 Mad Max 2, The Road Warrior, that movie worldwide box office is 23 million. And then Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome came out in 1985, 36 million worldwide total. And then Lethal Weapon opens in 87. So basically,
Yeah.
Gibson makes all of his Mad Max movies before Lethal Weapon and Lethal Weapon 2 and Tequila Sunrise make him the Mel Gibson.
Yeah,
You
so
know?
like this is almost like they tried to launch a franchise off of indie movies, and then based off of that, they
Yeah.
tried to launch like a prequel movie, which like exactly back to our tribal chief. Like
Yeah.
this is a movie that's a prequel to a side character in a movie franchise that already wasn't extremely popular. And like we were talking last time, maybe if they added young Furiosa, that would have done something, but just
Yeah.
adding a Mad Max saga doesn't do anything because clearly that doesn't even do anything for Star Wars.
Right.
So why
Right.
would it do anything to like a B, or honestly, this might be a C level franchise
Yeah.
to Mad Max. Like yeah.
Yeah. I in the end, you commend Warner Brothers. Listen, we're not critics, huh? But
Huh.
we love movies.
We
I
of course.
Fury Road was a great movie. Happy it was made. It basically broke even, so that everyone came out fine on that. You could see
Mhm.
why they would try to make something else with Mad Max, but making it a giant budget movie kind of goes against the whole DNA of what this series was. It was low budget, cool looking indie movies that look so much better than what their budget was. So then to make the whatever this was, 150, $200 million
I
version
think
of this
not
is,
to be specific or anything, but I
yeah,
think as I've seen on this week, I think the final budget was $168 million.
okay. So $168 million does just seem really high for what this franchise always was, which was not that you need to make 80-year-old George Miller, give him a $5 million budget and tell him go out into
Mhm.
the outback and bring us a summer movie. You got to give this guy some money, but they were never going to have a movie that justified spending that kind of money on a Mad Max movie. Because even if
Yeah.
Mel was in it, I don't think that, if you make Lethal Weapon 5 with Mel Gibson and Danny Glover, and obviously there's a lot going on in having Mel Gibson star in a movie at
Yeah.
this point. But
Mhm.
Lethal Weapon is a franchise that people care about.
I
Mad
mean,
Max
they had
is
a
a franchise.
successful TV show. I mean, I know we don't talk about TV, but
Right.
they had a successful TV show like a few years ago that ran for like 3 or 4 seasons. Like there's definitely, yeah, you need like Mel Gibson with Lethal Weapon is like a totally different thing for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think in the end, Scott Mendelson nailed it when he said this was spinning off a prequel to a character that was a side character, and he nailed it. This is Lightyear. This is Lightyear.
Mhm. Yeah,
This is
100,
Lightyear.
or and also like I said, like he said too, I feel like this is giving Blade Runner like 49 or 2049 vibes, or it's like
Yeah.
a sequel to almost a cult IP that they thought they could make into a big franchise. And clearly, even though all those years of all that goodwill hasn't broke out into the general audiences.
Yeah. And here's the last thing I'll say on Furiosa, which I think could mean trouble for Bad Boys 4 in a couple of weeks, is Fury Road was a case of people had some amount of nostalgia for Mad Max. It had been so long since anything Mad Max came out. And then, almost, what was it, 30 years later, we get Fury
Yeah.
Road, we get a new Mad Max movie. And then you make another one of these less than 10 years later. And I don't think people, I think, got their fill of that franchise with Fury Road. I think a lot of people said, oh, we're doing that one more time. cool, let's do it with Fury Road. And then to everyone, that was it. Same thing happened with Indiana Jones. You had Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. People didn't like that movie, but they went because, okay, we could do one more Indiana Jones. And then you try last year to do what the hell was the name of the last
Indiana
Indiana Jones?
Jones, not the Crystal Skull.
Crystal Skull's the Spielberg that did well.
Yeah, that's what
I mean, it's so the Indiana Jones 5.
It's just like you can't. They do the legacy sequel and they try and legacy sequel the legacy sequel.
Yep.
And it's just like it just doesn't work. Oh my god! I have to look
Jones
this up right now.
And the
I'm gonna look this
Dial
up.
of Destiny.
Dial of Destiny. Yeah, like that. Just
Dial of Destiny.
That
it was
show,
one
like,
too many
for people that actually follow the box office. If we're having struggled to remember it, just imagine the general audiences that like just can't even imagine. And like that just goes to show, like we said, like you can legacy sequel one time. And it works, but after that, you just have diminishing returns. Like you can't, you just can't keep doing that.
Yep, and me and you as the new co-host we'll talk about this in a few weeks when Bad Boys 4 comes out, and it might be the same case where Bad Boys 3 people were, oh, we haven't seen these guys in so long, and I used to love this franchise, and that movie just blew up, and it was a good movie, and it blew up.
Oh yeah, no, that was actually
very good. But 4 could be that situation of, oh, we did this already. We already said goodbye to this, and I'm done, and I've moved on. And I think that's what happened with Mad Max is people got their fill in Fury Road. Anya Taylor-Joy, we love her. She's a fantastic, whatever she is, but she's not a movie star yet. And her being in this meant absolutely nothing. I don't think she drew it. I don't think she repulsed anyone, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't think she drew in any like fans the way someone like a Chalamet did or a Sydney Sweeney did, where they have.
Well,
fans
I mean,
that
also
came to
like
see them.
The difference between Fury Road and Bad Boys is like Furiosa is a follow up / prequel to almost like I don't even know if they technically broke even. Like I think it was 370 worldwide on like a 150 budget.
Yeah, so they did fine. It did okay.
Yeah, but at least
but it's not a breakout. Yeah.
Yeah, but at least like Bad Boys for Life actually made money in the end. Like it was profitable. So I feel like that's also the difference too. Like this was a follow-up to a movie that barely made money, maybe broke even, compared to a movie that actually was well liked. And was almost honestly kneecapped because of COVID. Like this movie could have, like Bad Boys could have made more money.
Yes.
If it wasn't for COVID, like that movie was kneecapped. So I feel like that's the main difference too.
Yeah. So let's move on into the other dud of this weekend, though I would say less of
Fat Cat.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Fat Cat. I will say it's less of a dud because of budget. I mean, the budget on this from Sony, the Garfield movie, was I'm seeing in like under 100 million.
I saw $60, and I've also seen.
Well, $60 would be incredible.
Sorry, $60 million.
Okay,
and I also saw they've basically made their money back worldwide at this point, so it almost doesn't matter. I know we don't talk about worldwide, but also even if we didn't, I feel like this money. I know. What did it open to? Like 24 million in the 3-day?
Yeah, and in it's up to 31 million in the 4-day.
Yeah,
it's made another 66 million foreign. It's up to 97.5 million worldwide. Like the Garfield movie this is make money.
It's gonna make money, and honestly, like I just feel like this is another tip in Chris Pratt's hat as a child star. I don't know if he's Jack Black yet. Actually, I feel like 100% he's not Jack Black yet.
Right.
But I feel like he is on his way to being a Jack Black-esque star for kids movies specifically. I don't think he can go open like a $30 million like adult-oriented drama.
No.
But if he's like one voice actor away from being like every kid's gonna know him if he opens up a movie.
Yeah,
that's kids IP.
he's Mario, and that was a gigantic hit. Garfield movie is underwhelming, but it's gonna do fine. I
But
think
it's also like
for Pratt to be
underwhelming like
well,
domestically, but overseas it's actually doing pretty good too.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
yeah, it's like a like hand off, hand on type of situation.
It is hand off, hand on, but I think with Pratt to be Jack Black, he's going to need some Jumanjis. He's going to need
Yeah, definitely.
some School of Rock, and obviously he has Guardians of the Galaxy movies, which are bigger than those. But Jack Black has family hits in which he's on screen that are not animated. He's
Hmm.
not just Kung Fu Panda, and I think that is Chris Pratt's play, and I think he
Yeah.
knows that is to basically be a kid star because
Yeah.
adults, he's not a good actor. We're not Critics Hub, but Chris Pratt is not a
Huh.
good actor.
Hmm.
And action stars, action movies are not what they were in the 80s and 90s. So he really can't go that route. I don't think he could, there's Statham, but I don't think there's not Mel Gibson, Bruce Willis type action stars anymore, which is what Pratt probably would have wanted
Well,
to
I mean,
be.
he's almost doing that. He's doing the kids route, but then he's doing that action star route on Amazon because I don't know
Yep.
if you've seen this, but he has the terminal list, and
Yep.
then that Amazon is actually spitting that off. Amazon has the terminal list season 2, but then a spinoff
Okay.
of that Chris Pratt is actually also supposed to appear in. So he's almost
Okay.
doing the kid franchise stuff in box office, which is more important
Yep.
to or more important
Of course.
overall, obviously, like
Yeah.
movie
Yeah. Yeah.
stars 100% of the way. But
Right.
then he's doing that like Mel Gibson stuff on the small screen.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
which
so
is
like
kind of
he
where
yeah,
action is right now, other
yeah,
than the Stathams and yeah. So
the
I mean, the
Keanu Reeves
Garfield,
and yeah, those type of
yes.
yeah.
So the Garfield movie, you know, we both listen. We both have to eat some crow. Maybe get shocked. Maybe not around our necks, but I think you put the shock collar around like our big toe or something on this one because we both thought the Garfield movie would be the big hit this weekend. Um, and that didn't happen. 31 million in the
Mhm.
4 day. I will say, I think this is a movie that is gonna play for basically until Inside Out 2 comes out. This and If are gonna keep doing fine. The rats are
Well,
gonna do their
I was gonna
piece.
ask you, do you think they got the kids got a little full in the appetizer last weekend,
Uh-huh.
and then this weekend they were already full. Their
Yep.
main course came out, they could only like half of it, and then over the course of the next 2 weeks, they'll chow down a little bit on like both of these movies. And then when
Yeah.
Inside Out 2 comes out, it just like that's like dessert and that just like gets all their attention. But like for the next 2
I
weeks,
love
like
it.
that's what it'll be like. Do you think that's what it'll happen?
I think that's a great analysis there, is that the kids, they overate on the candy, which was If.
Yeah,
If
well,
was
because
that
I mean they just needed something so bad. They
yeah.
were just like, I just like the first thing they see, they're just like, I need it.
Yep,
And now
yep,
now their stomachs hurt.
yep,
They couldn't have as much as they wanted.
yep.
So Garfield like suffered, but then like over the next 2 weeks, they'll be like, okay, I
Right.
like everything. Yeah, everything evens out.
Yeah, yeah. I totally agree. Garfield the next couple of weeks is gonna be the mac and cheese in the
Hmm.
fridge that they didn't really eat the
Or
night
the
before.
lasagna in the fridge. Honestly,
Eh,
if we're
That's
talking Garfield,
Garfield is the lasagna in the
yeah,
fridge.
the lasagna in the fridge.
If was the candy that the kids filled up on last week. Mama
Hmm.
made them a big lasagna, and it's their favorite food. It's their favorite
Yeah,
food. They love
it's their favorite
lasagna,
food.
but they
Hmm.
had eaten too much candy last weekend by going to see If. And you're right, they were full. They tried, but
They
then
try, yeah.
they started getting they puked at the table. Let's be
Yeah,
honest. The
I mean,
kids puked at the
Garfield
table.
also hates Mondays, so that's probably didn't how like none
Yeah,
of the kids that love Garfield would have gone on a Monday. Apparently,
yeah,
Gentle Mondays wasn't a thing. So, if
yeah,
anything, Monday was the deterrent. So
yeah.
hopefully, the rest of the week, like it'll even out.
Right, right. Maybe the kids are saying Garfield hates Mondays, but he's at the worst indifferent to Tuesdays. So take me
Hmm.
Tuesday
Yeah,
night or next
exactly.
Saturday. I think the
Hmm.
Garfield movie, listen, nothing comes out next week. pretty much.
I think it's
again,
like
looking.
the biggest thing I saw was like In a Violent Nature, which is a horror movie
Yep.
shot from the perspective of the killer. That's like a hard R, so that's not going to take anything away from Garfield. And
No,
it's also like I think it's A24, so cheap horror. Like that's going to make what it's going to make.
it's
And
IFC Films, and
oh, IFC,
this
yeah,
is no longer
exactly.
summer 2020. So IFC Films is not going to have a big hit at the box office. So
Hmm.
yeah, next weekend I think Garfield. I mean, let's obviously me and you are going to have a prediction show later in the week, but as of today, next weekend, what do you think finishes first or ahead of the other one, Garfield or Furiosa?
I feel like it has to be like I feel like the
Yeah.
kids movie drop is gonna be less than Furiosa because also they were like I think literally I think Garfield made 1 million less than Furiosa in the end of like at the end of the
Yep. It's
day.
so close. It was
Yeah,
it
so
was it was a cat's hair apart. Yeah.
so I just feel like I don't think Furiosa is gonna drop like a stone. Well, I don't know if you count 60% as a stone, but like I
I
feel
think
like that's gonna drop like 55 to 60%, and I think Garfield's gonna stick closer
yeah.
to like 50%, hopefully.
Yeah.
Unless I mean, I don't know, like if also did have a better cinema
Mhm.
score than I think if had an A and Garfield has a B plus. You
I
might
mean,
have to double check that, but like,
let's just talk about If real quick. I mean, If came in number 3. It only
mhm.
dropped 52%. It was number 1 the week before,
And I
made
mean that
60 million the
52%
3-day.
too is almost because like I wonder how much it would have dropped if there wasn't Garfield. Like I feel
Yep.
like it could have been a lot better. Like I feel like it could have been closer to 40%
Mhm.
if if Garfield not
If
no pun
if
intended.
it's
Yeah,
yeah.
if
Yeah.
Garfield wasn't coming out this weekend.
Yo, definitely. If there was only If for the
Mhm.
rats, it would have made more money for sure because
Yeah.
they were going to see something this weekend. So If is going to be interesting next weekend, but it did pretty well, and it's up to $58.6 million after 2 weeks. Again, this isn't going to be some runaway blowaway hit, but I think it'll be a win for Krasinski. He went and he did this, and it didn't totally flop.
I mean,
So
he tried to do a Spielberg.
yeah,
Clearly, he isn't Spielberg. Like, stick to
yes,
horror, whatever else he wants to do. But like,
yeah,
good job for him on not completely bombing original IP. And I mean,
yes,
I don't think this is attributed to Krasinski. Like, I really don't think the 5-year-olds out there are like, oh my god, the director of A Quiet Place Part Two, he made this
right.
movie. But I do think at least this shows he has something to him. I mean, hey, your what was it? Your niece knew who Blue was or
She
Bluey?
knew who Blue was. She heard it
Yeah,
from a channel. She
yeah. I
knew
mean,
that the
you guys
purple
tried
thing
you
that
guys
yeah,
tried as much as you thought to tell her it wasn't blue, it was purple, but it was blue. So
yeah,
people out
she
there
knew it
knew.
was Blue. Yeah,
Yeah.
she knew it was Blue. So that worked on a 4-year-old. And yeah, I think yeah, IF is not ET, Krasinski is not Spielberg, but this was by no means is going to end up being a disaster for him as a
100, yeah,
director.
no,
He
definitely not.
he did this, and he'll now go do another movie and look at this as a successful
As
experiment.
as our tribal chief says, this was definitely like he did two for them almost.
Yep.
This was just one for me, and now he
Yep.
has to go back to a one for them.
Yep.
It's a give and take. It's a give and
Yep.
take.
And Planet of the Apes keeps rolling along. It's up to 122.8 million. So again,
I mean, honestly, minus China. I know we don't talk about worldwide, but I feel like this is going to do almost exactly the same domestic as the last one does. So I feel like people apes are hot right now. I feel
yeah,
that nothing
apes are
else
hot.
said. Apes are
Yeah.
hot. King Kong's hot.
Yeah.
Planet of the Apes are hot. We need more. We need more crazy apes out there.
Yes. Yes. We do need more crazy apes. I mean, I know Nintendo after Super Mario last year, they're looking at all the different possibilities and the Legend of Zelda movies coming out. But when they finally get that Donkey Kong Country movie out there someday,
Exactly. Yeah.
that is going to be massive. That is,
Hmm.
and we got to see him in the Super Mario Brothers movie last year, and I think Donkey Kong acquitted himself very well on the big screen. When he gets his standalone, and you coming off of King Kong and the collab and the Planet of the
Mm-hmm.
Apes, people are going to be so primed to go to Donkey Kong Country, and they got to announce that soon. They got to get that out there.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. No, I mean, anything spin off of Mario, honestly, I think is going to do big, but
Mm-hmm.
with Ape so hot right now, like why not get the biggest IP off of Mario out there as soon
Yeah,
as you can? And you
yeah,
have Seth Rogen too, which
yeah,
I guess I don't know how much he means at the box office right now for people, but at least you have a built-in semi-star
yeah,
to get people enticed.
yeah. I mean, you talked about who could be the next Jack Black. I think Seth Rogen has that possibility too. I think he did really well with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated film last summer. I
Was
think
he the director? How was
he
he
was a
involved with it?
writer, producer.
Writer?
He was
Okay.
in it. I forget what voice he did, but he was that was his project.
Oh yeah,
And
it was definitely yeah. I think they're definitely hoping for like a Spider-Verse situation with the sequel.
yeah, yeah. So I think Seth Rogen is the type of actor who he did his pot comedies and his quote unquote sex comedies, and people loved him when back in the day, and now I think he could be the Jack Black type family friendly star. So I think that's Pratt's got that path and Rogen's got that path. Talk about 8 movies being hot. If The Rock wasn't such a total washout right now as a movie star, obviously he's pro wrestling at the top of his game, but
Mm-hmm.
movies, it's a tough time right now. Would they be getting a Rampage sequel going to
Well, yeah, I was
capitalize on
gonna
the?
say he did the ramp like he did apes before they were cool. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
he started the apes trend.
Yeah. Yeah. So you always got to give him that. He got Rampage over 100 million domestic. I think he pulled it to like 100.1
Yeah,
million, something like that.
it was like right around that.
Yeah. So yeah, apes are hot, fat cats are not. Garfield, this wasn't going to be a breakout IP. I'll throw this out here because I wrote an article right now. Unlike Clayton, Jack is not missing,
Mm-hmm.
junior intern Jack, but he is on a 2-week leave. He's got other things going on, so he's not writing
At
new
least we
articles
know
on the
where he
Substack.
is.
Oh yeah, we have his coordinates, Jack.
Yeah.
But so he is taking a break from writing on the Substack. So I wrote an article today on the B.O. Boys Substack. So everyone check that out. I wrote 3 things that we could learn from the failure of Garfield. So it's a hot new article. This is like if Bill Simmons were to come out of retirement from writing, where
Okay.
instead of just
Yeah.
podcasting, he writes an article. This is
Mm-hmm.
huge that I
Yeah.
picked the pen up
100%. I
today.
mean, yeah, yeah.
So I wrote 3 things that we could learn from Garfield. And one of those was that the newspaper comic strips are not going to be a boon as far as IP for future movies. Like basically Heathcliff and whoever Nepo babies who are the heirs to the Heathcliff rights, this is not going to be a big payday for them where now the Heathcliff movie is going to get greenlit because of Garfield. I don't think those old comic strips are now suddenly going to become movies, which they might have been if the Garfield movie had opened to $60 million. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the kind of your big loser this weekend is Heathcliff, because I don't think the Heathcliff movie is going to get the green light after this opening weekend.
Yeah, no, me either.
So let's see. Why don't we close out now by just quickly talking about, I have some boots on the ground. I went to a movie tonight
Yeah,
with
I'm
my wife.
jealous. I'm jealous of the movie you went to.
I saw the Netflix film Hitman starring Glenn Powell, the Richard Linklater movie, which of course is going to be on Netflix sometime in the next couple of weeks, but they did give it a very limited release in movie theaters. And one of the theaters just happens to be 10 blocks from where I live. Coastal Elite, what could you do?
Mm-hmm.
And
As you do.
yeah, and I saw this movie tonight, and I loved it. I'm not a critic, but
Uh,
I love seeing it in the theater. The crowd was laughing. We were cheering. Glenn Powell is a GD movie star. He has got it. He has got it.
So my
Just
question to you, like, what
mhm.
what do you think Twisters is gonna do? Do
Man,
you think I think my nervousness for that is I think it's gonna do great opening weekend, but it is gonna be a
yeah,
Barbenheimer situation where it has like this great opening weekend and then Deadpool 2 or sorry, Deadpool 3, Deadpool and Wolverine, whatever you want to call it,
yeah.
just sucks all of the oxygen out of the room and it drops like 60% the second weekend. But I'm also like, maybe it gets to leg out in August, but also the worst part is August is weirdly packed. Even though I know everyone's kind of expecting every movie in August to fail, August is still weirdly packed at the box office. So like, is there room for Twisters to like
God,
do its
I
thing?
I wish Twisters was opening up in either late June or early July. Because
Me too.
when you look at
I think like
adult
opening,
movies,
yeah.
it's, Bad Boys is June 7th. And
Hmm.
then there's no surefire hits for a month. I mean, there's Inside Out too, but I'm saying in terms of movies aimed at adults, you've got Quiet Place prequel, which I think will do well. That's
It'll do
June
its thing.
28th.
It'll do its thing
You,
basically.
you got the Costner American Horizon movie, which in an old era of the show, there was another co-host who I remember was really high on this movie, but I vaguely remember. That's not going to, who knows what that's going to do. Twisters has so much runway in June and early July. And like you said, it's opening July 19th. And then the next week, the 26th, is the biggest possible competition it could have.
Yeah,
So I
so
just wish they had more room
it
between
doesn't
each
even get
other.
the IMAX screens for more than a week, and I feel like
Yeah,
this is almost a movie that Bennett like I would
you
rather see
have to see it on
a
IMAX. Yeah,
Twister or a Fire NATO, which is teased in the trailers on an IMAX screen
yeah,
rather than my local AMC. So
yeah.
like it doesn't even get that benefit for that long.
I will say Hitman is such a movie that, theatrical is different than it used to be. Older people, and by older, I mean people who are like 30 and above, don't go
Hmm.
to the movies the same way they used to. But Hitman in the 90s or even in the 2000s would be such a full on star making vehicle for Glenn Powell. This would be a movie
Hmm.
that would make $75 million domestic. And I think from that, he'd get a Best Actor nomination, and it would be a full on, this guy is our new movie star. And instead, it's going to just play in a couple of theaters. One of them happens to be right near where I live, Coastal Elite.
Coastal, yeah,
And,
lucky.
and then it's going to be on Netflix. And I think everyone will watch it. Um, Here's what I'll say in terms of Twisters. I do think people are going to love this movie on Netflix so much that, and they're going to love him. I mean, he's so great in Hitman that I do think people who got to watch him for free on Netflix at home are going to then be excited to go pay to see him in Twisters. I do think Hitman will be
Okay.
such a great advertisement for Twisters and Glenn Powell. So I
Well, I
think
mean,
it'll help him there, but I wish it just was coming out in theaters and, open to 14 million and got itself to like 60 or 70 million domestic. That would have been
well,
the right thing.
I feel like that shows something about Netflix movies that you're saying it's almost an advertisement for his theatrical movie. Like
Yeah.
it's like an ad. It's not even. But I know you think it's a great movie, and like Richard Linklater, like he's a famous director and everything. But like, it's basically an advertisement for people to go to his movie that's actually going to be out on the big screen. Like I feel like that just says something
Yep.
about the state of like what Netflix has done to the industry.
Yep. Yep. They are basically late night infomercials.
Yeah, yeah.
Hitman should be a movie that should have been a hit in theaters and get a Best Picture nomination and get him a Best Actor nomination. Instead, it's the equivalent of watching the Salad Shooter infomercial at 3 a.m. After you fell asleep during a baseball game.
I don't know if you saw this, but like Ted Sarandos, the CEO of Netflix, did this
Oh,
like
I
big
know what you're gonna
profile with the
say.
New York Times, and I know there's a bunch of stuff he
Oh,
said that I
it's
don't totally
sickening.
agree
It's
with.
sickening. It's
Yeah,
sickening.
but the big thing he said
Yeah.
was, well, okay, well, there's two things. One, he said his son, who's an editor, watched Lawrence of Arabia on his iPhone, and even I know that's like literally 50 years removed from me. Even
Right.
I know that's kind of sickening. But the
Right.
other biggest thing he said was he thought Barbie and Oppenheimer would have been just as big on Netflix, and he just clearly he clearly does not know. He just doesn't know. He is so
To
far
Ted
removed.
Sarandos, Extraction 2 is as big as Star Wars.
Yeah,
Extraction
which is
2 is as
clearly
big
like,
as
yeah,
Jaws. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
So
that's just
that's what
clear.
he
Like
thinks.
it's as big as Jaws for maybe a week, but then after that, like who has thought about Extraction 2 since when did that even come out? Like June or July of last year? Like who has even thought about that in 12 months? They like
Uh,
actually like, but people still know what Barbenheimer was. Like it's just so crazy to me that he's saying that.
I will say, since we brought up Extraction, Chrissy Hemme is the co-star of Furiosa, and I mean, God, chalk this up as another one for Chrissy Hemme coming off of the Ghostbusters Answer the Call and Men in Black International. Now Furiosa. If he's not Thor, this guy cannot get arrested at the box office, and they're giving him IPs, and he still can't make it happen. But Ted
I also,
Sarandos, he's Jack Nicholson because of all the watch hours for Extraction 2. So God
exactly,
bless
yeah,
him.
no,
God bless him.
yeah, exactly.
So I know we are gotta go, but I just wanted to quickly see if anyone had any predictions from last weekend and whether they came true. I mean, very quickly, Danny emailed
I
us
do.
before the
I
opening
would like to say
weekend.
rip for Austin. I always love when Austin goes nuts,
Yeah.
and this time it just didn't go nuts. It just
Well,
didn't. And
we'll get to
I'm
Austin in a
sad to see
second.
it.
I do just want to quickly. Danny said, anyways, regardless, as much am a huge Anya Taylor-Joy fan, excited for Furiosa. However, I predict Garfield storms out of nowhere, a bunch of rats craving cheese, takes number one this weekend. So listen, he basically got it right because it was a coin flip between Garfield and Furiosa, but the rats were not super hungry for that cheese this weekend.
The
Now,
rats were full. The rats were
the
already
rats were
full.
full. So, and you mentioned Austin. I mean, we read his predictions last weekend, and he said he wants to get nuts. Just a reminder, this is what Austin, his top two predictions last weekend. He had Garfield at 56 million in the 3-day, 70 in the 4-day, and he had Furiosa at 48 million in the 3-day and 58 million in the 4-day. And he did offer that if he was wrong, that we could shock him. So, I mean, that could be
So
the
we
answer to
really
your
do have
question.
to. Okay, so if Clayton's out there, I hope he knows he should, before he comes back on the show. I
Right.
hope he shows up with the shot collar. I feel like that's his main job. If he
Yeah.
ever wants to come back,
Yeah.
try and take my promotion, because
Right.
I feel like I tried to earn it. He
Right.
better
Right.
show up with the shot collar, but if not,
Right.
he's yeah.
Well, what if we do, the severed head of Clayton shows up,
Hmm.
but in the mouth of the severed head of Clayton is just a shock collar, has been like shoved in there, and his mouth was closed, and then the police give us the head, and we've got the
Hmm.
head at BOHQ near the water cooler. Maybe we have it up on like a marble platform so people could sort of like wave at it when they go to the water cooler. And
Yeah,
then one day someone's playing with the head, because I'm not going to put a sign up that says don't play with the head. If you want to play with
yeah. No,
Clayton's severed
if you
head,
want to
play
play
with the
with the
head.
head, play with the head. I mean, it's Clayton's
Yeah.
head.
It's
He
Clayton's
doesn't
head. Do what
care.
you want. Yeah.
Yeah.
But someone's playing with the head and they knock it off the marble platform, and then the mouth opens and a shock collar's inside. That would be, I think, a nice end to the story for Clayton's journey on this
Oh,
show.
I mean, all the yeah. It goes yeah. Shot collar. He would love the shot collar. I
Yeah.
feel like that'd be perfect.
Yeah. So, I think that's all that we have to go over this week. So, of course, email us, theboboyspodcast at gmail.com. We love getting your emails, boots on the ground. Let us know if what you think is going to happen next weekend. Honestly, I think it's a 3-way race between Furiosa, Garfield movie, and If. So let us know what
Yeah.
you think is going to shake out next weekend. The BO Boys Podcast at gmail.com. Watch us on YouTube. Of course, if you're only listening to the podcast, you're only getting half the story. So go to the YouTube channel, watch there, read the Substack. Of course, I came out of writing retirement to write it's just a fantastic article about the 3 lessons we can learn from Garfield. I'm going to be writing more on the BO Boys Substack. Of course, Jack is going to be back with his regular articles. So if you haven't already, you gotta subscribe to the Substack. Of course, tickets for the LA live tour, Box Office Save America. The tickets are on sale now. So link in the show notes. Buy your LA tickets. Tell your friends in LA that the BO Boys are coming there live. And of course, follow us on social media at the BO Boys Podcast. Or is it at the BO Boys Pod?
At
What
the
is it?
BO Boys Pod.
At the BO Boys Pod, of course, on
Mhm.
Twitter X and on TikTok. Right now, Christopher is still manning the social media as the ink has to dry on his actual promotion. So until then, he is still senior intern manning the social medias. And then at some point, Clayton Severed Head will then man our
He'll come
Twitter
in
X
and
and
take
TikTok.
over all that.
Yeah, because a Severed Head could definitely do that.
Yeah.
And then of course 5 stars on Apple Podcasts. And yeah, I mean, I think we've said it all, Christopher. I don't think there's anything left to say.
Until next time.
We'll smell you at
the
the
box
office.
office. Nailed it.
Nailed it.